Alarms tore through the ship before I even opened my eyes. I was already moving, boots hitting the cold floor, heart pounding harder than it ever had in training. 2,500 enemy vessels had just dropped out of nowhere above Neptune, and every one of them was pointed straight at Earth. My name is Daniel Whitfield, and I am the captain of a warship called the Perpetua. I did not build her. Nobody alive today built her. She had been under construction for 1,000 years, passed down through generations of engineers, welders, coders, and dreamers who never lived to see this moment. I was simply the person standing on her deck when the moment finally arrived. "Captain, contact count is still climbing," said Ava Bennett, my tactical officer, her fingers flying across the console. 2,600 now. It is not slowing down. "Let it climb," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my chest felt tight. She was built for this. I was not exaggerating. 1,000 years ago, after humanity lost its first war against an alien force called the Kryvax Dominion, our ancestors made a choice that seemed almost foolish. Instead of building many ships that could be destroyed one by one, they decided to build a single ship that could never be finished, only improved. Every generation added something new: thicker armor, stronger engines, smarter weapons. They knew they might never see her completed, and they built her anyway, because they believed someone, someday, would need her. That someone was me. "Captain, their formation is the same one used in the First War," Ava said. "A spearhead, designed to break through defenses and crush everything behind them." "They do not know we are not the same defense," I said. I opened a channel to the entire crew, 40,000 people spread across a ship the size of a small moon. My voice would reach every deck, every corridor, every soul who had trained for a battle they hoped would never come. 1,000 years ago, someone we never met began building this ship with nothing but steel and hope, I said. They believed in a future they would never live to see. That future is now. Let us make sure their hope was not wasted. The enemy fleet surged forward, thousands of ships moving as one deadly wall. My hands tightened on the edge of my console. "Release the swarm," I ordered. 400,000 small drones poured out from the sides of the Perpetua, spreading into the sky like a flock of birds changing direction in perfect unison. They were guided by an artificial mind we called Iris, who had spent 600 years learning, calculating, and preparing for exactly this fight. The enemy's targeting systems, built to fight simple squadrons, could not keep up with a swarm that never moved the same way twice. "Their defense grid is falling behind," Ava said, a flicker of hope in her voice. "The drones are working." I allowed myself one breath of relief before the real fight began. "Captain, incoming fire from the lead cruisers," called out Marcus Whitlow, my engineering officer, from somewhere deep in the ship. "Shields holding at 94%. Keep them steady," I said. "We are not finished yet." The Perpetua folded space around herself, a trick made possible by technology developed centuries earlier. One moment we were on the outer edge of the battle, and the next we were deep inside the enemy formation, close enough that their own ships blocked each other's lines of fire. It was a risky move, but it was one their commanders would never expect from a lone vessel. "We are surrounded," Ava said, though she did not sound afraid. She sounded ready. "No," I said. "They are surrounded." I gave the order, and the main weapons of the Perpetua fired for the first time in this war. Beams of concentrated energy, built from centuries of research, cut through enemy hulls like light through fog. Explosions bloomed silently in the vacuum of space, one after another, as ship after ship in the tightly packed formation could not escape in time. "Captain, 3 of their capital ships are breaking off," Ava reported. "They are trying to retreat and regroup." "Do not let them," I said. "If they regroup, they will find our weaknesses." I turned to Marcus. "Divert power from the rear shields to the forward cannons. We need everything we have on their command ships." "That will leave our back exposed," Marcus warned. I know, I said. But if we do not stop their leaders now, this fight will last for days, and we do not have days. Marcus hesitated only a second before nodding and carrying out the order. That was the kind of trust 1,000 years of shared purpose could build between strangers who had never met before this war began. The forward cannons roared to life, striking the fleeing command ships before they could vanish into the safety of open space. One by one, their engines failed, their shields collapsed, and their crews were forced to either surrender or be destroyed. I chose to disable rather than destroy whenever I could. This was not about revenge. It was about protecting a planet that had waited 1,000 years for this single day. Captain, our rear shields are taking damage, Ava said, urgency creeping into her voice. Enemy ships are moving to flank us. Bring the swarm back around, I said. Protect our rear. Iris responded instantly, and the drone swarm shifted direction, forming a shield of small, fast-moving ships around our exposed side. The enemy vessels trying to flank us found themselves suddenly outnumbered by machines that moved faster than their own weapons could track. They are pulling back, Ava said, disbelief mixing with relief in her voice. Captain, the flanking group is retreating. I allowed myself to breathe for the first time in what felt like hours, though only minutes had passed. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since the alarms had woken me, I believed we might actually survive this day. Status report, I said, keeping my focus locked on the tactical display. We have lost 12 outer hull sections, Marcus said quietly. Casualties are still being counted, but early numbers suggest we lost around 300 crew members. The number hit me harder than any enemy weapon could. 300 people, each one carrying the same weight of history I carried, each one trusting me to lead them through this fight. I did not have time to grieve properly, not yet, but I made a silent promise to remember every single one of them once this was over. Keep fighting, I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. We finish this for them too. The battle raged on for nearly 4 hours, though it felt both shorter and longer than that at the same time. Every minute brought new decisions, new dangers, and new moments where a single mistake could have ended everything. Ava called out enemy movements with calm precision, even as her own voice grew hoarse from hours of constant communication. Marcus kept the ship's systems running despite mounting damage, patching power lines, and rerouting energy with a steady hand that never once shook, at least not where the crew could see it. Slowly, the tide of the battle shifted in our favor. The enemy fleet, once confident and overwhelming in numbers, began to break apart under the pressure of a ship they had never expected to face. Their formations scattered as more and more vessels either retreated or were disabled. What had once been a wall of 2,500 ships was reduced to a scattered handful, fleeing toward the edge of the system. Captain, the last of their command ships just entered slip space, Ava said. They are retreating, all of them. For a long moment, nobody on the command deck spoke. The silence was not empty. It was full of relief, exhaustion, and a kind of quiet disbelief that we had actually done what we set out to do. Confirm status of Earth's defenses, I said, my voice softer now. Earth is untouched, Ava said, and I heard the smile in her words even though I could not see her face. Not a single enemy ship made it past our position. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting that truth settle over me. 1,000 years of work, sacrifice, and belief had led to this single sentence. Earth was untouched. I did not celebrate right away. Instead, I asked Marcus to compile a full list of everyone we had lost, and I asked Ava to prepare a message for the families waiting back home. Families who had spent the last several hours not knowing whether their loved ones on this ship were alive or gone forever. Later that night, once the ship had settled into a quieter rhythm and repair crews had begun their long work, I walked alone through one of the oldest sections of the Perpetua. Here, along the inner walls, were carved the names of everyone who had ever contributed to building this ship. Engineers who never lived to see her finished. Workers who donated years of their lives to a project they were told might never matter. Families who paid taxes toward a warship, built for a war that, for most of their lifetimes, seemed like nothing more than an old story. I ran my fingers along the wall, tracing names I did not know, but somehow felt connected to. Somewhere among them was the name of the very first engineer who laid the first piece of this ship's frame, a person who believed so strongly in a future they would never see, that they gave everything they had to build it anyway. I found an empty space near the newest section of the wall, close to where Marcus and Ava's own family names had been added years earlier. I took a small engraving tool from my pocket, one I had carried since the day I received my command. I did not carve my own name. Instead, I carved a simple message for whoever would stand on this deck after me, in whatever battle the future still held. It read simply, "For whoever comes next, the promise continues." Because I had learned something today that no training program could have taught me. A ship like the Perpetua was never built only to win one battle. She was built as proof that people who will never meet each other can still work together across generations, trusting that their efforts will matter to someone they will never know. As I stood there in the quiet, surrounded by 1,000 years of names, I understood that our fight was not truly finished. It never would be. There would always be another threat, another dark moment when Earth needed protection. But for the first time, I did not feel afraid of that future. I felt ready for it.